Hello, I am Sharona, and you are watching the Zone Blitz, the weekly webcast produced by NFL Female for women and anyone else who wants to join us. But we are a group of ladies who write about the NFL and talk about the NFL. We're very honored to have our podcast guru, Dayna, who covers the Seattle Seahawks, join us tonight. So we're going to get started because we've got a lot to talk about. First of all, I want to apologize, though, to everybody. As our regular viewers know, I cover the Tennessee Titans, the official fan reporter for the Tennessee Titans for NFL Female, and I just came from training camp. So I did brush my hair and tried to glam up just a little bit, but you're getting the real Sharona here tonight. So, Sonja, what's going on with you, girl?
Hi, everybody. I'm Sonja. I am the official fan reporter for the Detroit Lions for NFLfemale.com, and I'm just having a hair day, so don't worry about that.
Sonja always looks beautiful.
Oh, why, thank you. I appreciate that. But you guys do, too, always. We all look great. We do. We all look great. Okay. Who else looks great, I hear, are the Lions. Actually, they did pretty good in their little preseason games on Saturday against that one quarterback. I think his name's Johnny Manziel. Is that his name?
Never heard of him.
I know.
We never hear about him. I'm not sure. We might need to check, double check. He's kind of an unknown guy that you never hear about.
Oh gosh, it's that kind of day, you guys. Forgive us. Anyways, but yeah, so things are looking pretty good the Lions' way. But I am so excited to have Dayna on so we can talk some Seahawks, talk some Legion of Boom, and say thank you again for Golden Tate. So glad to have him on our team this year.
I am so glad he's on your team this year. I'm
going to thank her for Leon Washington.
Yes.
Oh, that's the heartbreaker for me. Sharona, you know that. I love myself some Leon.
I love him too.
Just the greatest guy ever.
I was watching him zoom around today like a video game, and I was like, dang, he's still so fast. It's like amazing.
He really is. You know, I'm beginning to
video game character. You know, you think Dexter McCluster is fast, and he is. And then, it can be, you know, Leon's so low-key. You're like, who was that? And I'm like searching for Leon. You know, it's crazy.
Yeah, he is. He's such a great return specialist, and he's just a great guy overall. You know, in my heart he'll forever be a Seahawk for sure. But I will loan him out to you for a while.
Oh, thank you. Well, look, could the Titans' return position had been any worse before they picked him up? I mean, let's recap. They started the season, the first play of the NFL season, a safety from their return guy who stepped back into the end zone on a return. And it didn't get much better from that. So we were very lucky to get him, and very happy that he still decided that he wanted to hang around.
I think he's got a couple good years left in him. I'm really excited for you, and I'm excited that he's still getting the chance in the NFL. You know, that 30 number in the NFL, unless your quarterback, starts to scare people. And so, you know, he's really showing that you can get great value out of a player who, God forbid, is over the magic number.
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit more about Leon when I talk about the Titans. But tell us a little bit about what's going on with your Seattle Seahawks, Dayna.
Oh, well, there was almost a major catastrophe today, as in Percy Harvin.
Oh, no.
Off the field, and Twitter exploded.
Yes.
The tweet was, Percy Harvin finished a play and limped off the field. And then it was, oh my God, he's going back to the locker room, and then he was done for the season, and all these people start running with it. And a couple of Seahawks, you know.
And they flew in Dr. James Andrews. He's doing surgery in the locker room.
Exactly. You know, and so
they're amputating.
Exactly. I know. There was the Seahawks fan group who was like, you know, we can't take any injury to Percy lightly because he has this history. Well, he's had a history for 2 years. Truly, that's all it is. It's been 2 years. Before that, he hardly ever missed a game. But yes, he's been a little delicate the last couple of years. And then there was the Seahawks fan base who was like, his head didn't come off, people. He's fine. Get over yourself. The funny thing is that he got stepped on. He took a cleat to the leg. He was bleeding, got a Band-Aid, and came back. He's absolutely fine.
Oh, okay.
He was running up and down the field. But the minute, God forbid.
There's nothing more entertaining than watching Twitter run away with something, though.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. And I'm not making fun of the people who were genuinely, like, panicked about it.
Of course not.
It's at the same time, it's like, okay, can we just see what happened first? Like, can we just see? But, you know, the Seahawks,
Right.
you know, they had their first preseason game against the Broncos, and they lost that game. And believe it or not, we're really fine with it because although, and I'm not picking on the Broncos fans, but some of them were like, we've gotten our revenge. We're so happy. I'm like, if a preseason game is revenge for the Super Bowl, you need to aim a little higher. And I will tell you, there's only two Broncos fans that I saw say that, but still, it was very funny. Most Broncos fans are fantastic and smart and understand how it works. But, you know, we saw what we needed to see. We knew we have major issues in our offensive line. We only had one starter in those first, even after Russell came back, because then there was the lightning delay, so then there was a 45-minute delay. Every time we played Denver, there's a delay for some reason. And so even after that, you know, Russell came back, we could see J.R. Sweezy was the only starter we had on the offensive line the whole night. Everyone else second and third string because they didn't want to rush those guys coming back from off-season injury or who might have, you know, tweaked a hamstring during, you know, training camp. And so they let them sit. The Seahawks were not worried about this game. Of course they wanted to win it, but I think that has more to do with wanting your second and third level guys to get some confidence and to really kind of start building that confidence that they need to kind of go after some of those bigger plays. And so they did that. But, you know, Russell Wilson looked just like Russell Wilson. The defense really, truly was taking it pretty easy. You could tell none of them wanted to get injured, so they weren't going at it, in my opinion, at full pace, except for Earl Thomas, who I think only has an on and off switch. The guy doesn't have medium anywhere in his body. He's just on or off. And he looked fantastic. But what was really exciting is we saw some guys who we thought were going to be fabulous, maybe weren't so fabulous. And then we saw some guys really come out of nowhere who now have become a huge source of attention. Brock Coyle is the first one. He's a linebacker, undrafted free agent out of the University of Montana, and which makes me very happy being a Montana girl originally. And he was from Bozeman High School. I mean, he's Montana born and bred, under the radar, came in and blew up that game. He looked fantastic. And we all know how good the Seahawks are with undrafted free agents. And so we were really excited to see that out of him. Cassius Marsh is another one who played really well, and we saw what we needed to out of him. The biggest thing is that Marshawn Lynch did not play. They decided to hold him back. There was no need for him to play or risk an injury. So we got to see Robert Turbin and Kristen Michael really kind of in their element and how they could do. And it was pretty impressive. The Denver defense was rather impressive, too, with the run stopping, and they did really well. But at the same time, we got a good feel of where we need to work and some of those assets that we didn't really know were there before, but now we can focus on more.
Yeah, well, that's what you want from the preseason. Wins and losses in the preseason. I went through something almost identical because the Titans played the Green Bay Packers Saturday night. And, of course, it wasn't a Super Bowl game, but 2 seasons back in 2012, the Packers stomped the Titans. I mean, it was like 50 gazillion to 9 or something. I mean, it was and I was at the game. It was in Green Bay. It was at Lambeau. It was so bad. Packer fans felt sorry for me. I mean, they were buying me beer and saying, "Oh, it'll be." I mean, and I was fine. You know, I was like, "Oh, we're getting the, you know what, kicked out of us." But, you know,
it happens.
I'm hanging out with my buddies. You know, one of my best friends lived in Green Bay at that point, born and raised in Green Bay, and so and I was, it had been such a weird season anyway that I was like, okay, yeah, I'm just going to have a good time. And I did have a good time, but Packers fans were really, I mean, there were some people who were like, your team sucks, like, well, okay, thanks. I mean, you're going to have those fans, right? But most everybody felt sorry for me. And so, yeah. And so I got a chance to go in the locker room after practice about a week ago, and they were interviewing Cody Sensabaugh, who was on that team. And it came up, and he said, well, I remember that game. And he was like, it's not, it's not like it's payback or anything, but we haven't forgotten that game. And of course, I mean, it's preseason. It's not a revenge game. You're not going to have this game in preseason because you want to come away from the game healthy and all of that. But yeah, I mean, you remember those things.
Mm-hmm. You do, and it just sits in there. And I understand. That had maybe the same situation. It had to have been embarrassing. The Super Bowl had to have been embarrassing for those fans to a certain extent, whether Peyton Manning likes that word or not. At least for the fan base, it's just not what they expected. They went in with such confidence, which they absolutely should have.
What anybody expected.
Right. And so I think that's why some of the fans, and like I said, it was a very small handful, and most of them were fantastic. But they really, truly, they thought that they had to win this game. And really, we play the Broncos again. We play the AFC West so many times this season, and we play them again in Week 3, and I think that game will be huge. It's at CenturyLink Field, though, so it will be a different dynamic. But really, preseason, your number one priority is that none of your starters get hurt, and that you can see your holes and your strengths. And that is really, especially the first preseason game. Oh, my gosh. All you're trying to do is make sure
you want to test the back end of your roster. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what we did. It's been very interesting. Everyone that had some injuries over the offseason or offseason surgeries are coming back at an advanced or on-time pace. We shouldn't have anyone. That's good. Yeah, the only question they have right now is Bruce Irvin, one of our defensive players. He had off-season surgery, and they're hoping he'll be back for the first game, if not definitely the second. His surgery was later in the summer. I don't think they really realized that he needed that surgery. But Cam Chancellor, Malcolm Smith, everyone else is looking fantastic and, better than ever. And honestly, the big thing is Percy Harvin. And Percy Harvin, he, other than getting his foot stepped on today, looking amazing, and wow, what a dimension that will hand the Seahawks offense.
Now, for the fantasy football players out there watching, and I didn't get a chance to watch that game, and I haven't had a chance to look at the box numbers or anything, between Robert Turbin and Kristen Michael, who looked like the better fantasy football option, because Beast Mode. And I want to ask you about the latest on Beast Mode. Of course, we've got to ask about that.
Yes,
but Beast Mode is going to be Beast Mode. He's going to get his carries, but there's going to be opportunity behind him. Who do you think's got the fast track for that?
Everyone is so high, including the entire Seahawks organization, on Christine Michael. He's kind of their golden child, and yet it's been said a couple of times that he's learned so much over the offseason. So last season, obviously, there was just a learning curve that rookies sometimes run into that seemed to linger for him a little bit. They say he's much more on top of this year, but still, Robert Turbin is listed as the number 2. This is one of those situations where this could really switch midseason. Robert Turbin has been consistent, but not a superstar in any way, shape, or form. But he acts and plays more like Marshawn Lynch than Kristen Michael does, and so I don't know. I think that he'll be the set backup. I really, truly think we'll see Robert Turbin more. However, if he doesn't have an improvement and doesn't start to really kind of step that up, they're going to hand that over to Kristen Michael and let him kind of really prove to them what they have. So sadly, it's going to be kind of a 50-50. I think at the beginning of the season, though, behind Marshawn Lynch, you're still going to see Robert Turbin at number 2.
Okay. Yeah, Kristen Michael, super talented running back out of Texas A&M, but he had maturity issues. I was really high on him coming out as well. But you saw the maturity issues. They surfaced. They were there in college. They surfaced at the combine. He had some growing up to do, and it sounds like that he has.
Yeah, I really think that he has. I think that being third man down on a roster sometimes can be a reality check for some of these kids who come in who are superstars in college. And then a professional team looks at them and says, yeah, we like you, but you're still not good enough. Sit your butt down. And I think that really kind of forces some of these guys to grow up. And so I think that he's done that. Plus, when you're a running back, you get really used to a scheme really easily. And so when that's switched up on you and you have your running back, everything is based on the power running of Marshawn Lynch. That is going to be a huge, switch for them. And so I really think probably sitting them on the bench for a season was probably the best thing for him. And he's looked really good in practice. He didn't look phenomenal. He looked good, but not phenomenal in the game. But like I said, Denver's defense was all about stopping the run. That was their whole point.
They've invested a lot in that defense. Right. It should be improved.
Yeah, they have.
Right. And so I think we'll see a lot of him. A lot will tell over the next two games. The San Diego game that we have this coming up Friday, I think that'll be a good test for him because he'll have another game under his belt, another week of practice. And so I think that we'll hopefully, fingers crossed, see a lot out of him in this next game.
All right. Well, let's ask Sonja about the Lions and that the Cleveland Johnny team.
Yes, Johnny Cleveland's.
So give us an update on what's going on with your Lions and talk a little bit about the game, Sonja.
Well, the game actually, we had to come from behind, which, okay, whatever. Once again, it's preseason. It does happen. But, we were really trying to get a good look at the offense this year and seeing, how this new offense under Jim Caldwell was going to run. First of all, Calvin Johnson did not play, which I was totally fine with. He had some stuff going on at the end of last year. Nobody was really 100% sure what was going on, except he had a couple surgeries, I think, like not too long after the season ended. So let's give him some rest so he can, go out there and catch some more balls. So glad that Golden Tate is there to help bring that, or, be a number 2 wide receiver for him, because I think that's going to just, in turn, just make both of them much better. You know what I'm saying? So that was good. The offense did kind of stall a couple times, kicking field goals instead of, actually scoring. But once again, it's preseason, really just trying to get a good look at what's going on.
It sounded like your rookie tight end acquitted himself pretty well in his first game.
Yes, he did. Eric Ebron. At first, once again, I think there was a little bit of nerves, a little bit of jitteries. But, well.
I said I love him, is what I said.
Oh, yes. Okay, no, I'm sorry. I was on a bit of a delay. There's a little bit of weather going on today, so yeah, there's just a little bit of a delay. But no, he's actually doing pretty good. I'm very glad to have him, making catches, making plays, and just being, that wide receiver, that tight end / wide receiver that possibly we could use on this offense, and being an addition to Brandon Pettigrew and Joe Faurier, and really strengthening our tight end game. So I love it. Another name that popped up a lot was Michael LaSure. And, he's been the subject of many, many trade rumors, many trade baits, stuff like that. But he actually had a pretty good game. So, he might still just be our third running back option, but he actually did pretty good in this game. So I think, having him play, either he's trying to show himself to other teams or just be our third running back option, which I'm kind of excited about and good to see. But always glad to see.
I would think they wouldn't want to trade him when you consider, and Reggie Bush isn't glass by any means, but he's had some injuries.
Yes.
With the running back situation, what it is, I wouldn't go so far to say you can't have too many. But you definitely need a good stable of running backs because there's going to be injuries and, and other things are going to happen.
Right. And so having Michael LaSure have a really good game at least, or having a good preseason, I think is only going to be super beneficial because, once again, last year his status was really in jeopardy. We didn't really hear from him not too much, like after our bye week. He was pretty much silent and on the bench.
Yeah.
So and that's
kind of weird.
Exactly, and that's what really led to a lot of the speculation that is he going to get traded? Are we, is he going to get dropped? What's going to happen with him? So actually getting to see him play was really good too. Another improvement was Darius Slay. our cornerback, and he was actually very good. He played very well against Josh Gordon, so that actually was nice to see as well. And Safety James from Baltimore, I can never pronounce his
Idigago? I think it's something.
Him. Yeah. I had a bow. Okay, I always get his name wrong. But yeah, James Adebayo. He actually had a good game too.
A very attractive young man.
Yes, he is. You know, he kind of, in a way, for whatever reason, made me think of Adiris Elba. Yeah, him.
Oh, yeah.
For like 2 seconds.
and Lord knows that's not a bad thing.
Not at all, because you guys go together, right? But anyway.
We do go together.
Yes, you do. But so it was just a really good game, and I really liked what, I saw from Detroit. And so, once again, it's just preseason, but I think it's just nice to just kind of see what we've got and what we're working with. Oh, Ryan Broyles. He also had a very good game. Really excited to see him come back. And, after playing maybe 10 games combined these past 2 seasons. So really good to see him come back and just, have a pretty decent game himself too. So looking forward to big things from him. Hopefully, we can wrap him in bubble wrap or maybe extend the halo rule just for him. But no, it was really good to see. So I think all in all, they showed us what they can do. There's still a lot of work to be done, but I do like what they showed us on Saturday.
Okay, well, I just tweeted out a link to something that we're getting ready to talk about here pretty soon. I am going to give you guys a little bit of an update about the Tennessee Titans, and then in the second half of the show, we're going to talk about some hot topics that are going on. I'm going to ask Dayna about the latest on Marshawn. It doesn't sound like it's too serious, but we definitely want to talk about the new emphasis on illegal contact, defensive holding. The numbers thus far in the preseason are staggering, and we're going to weigh in on that and talk about that. But before we get there, the Titans, they won their first preseason game. They did enact a teeny tiny bit of revenge on the Green Bay Packers in what can only be called the monsoon game, because it rained so hard and for so long. I mean, there were waterfalls dumping water in the press spots and the fans. It was an incredible weather event for the people who were playing in it, for the guys who were playing in it, and for the fans who were there watching it. Dayna was very concerned about me because she knew, if I had not had this sprained foot and hadn't agreed to help a friend out on a show, I would have totally been there in that. And the odds of me twisting my foot again and re-injuring it were going to be very high. I very wisely decided not to attend the game. But a couple of things stood out. First of all, the Titans' defense. They're moving to a new defensive system. They're going to a hybrid system under a new defensive coordinator, Ray Horton. The run defense was really troubling, and it's been an area of concern for they were a little bit better for a while last year, and then they started having some injuries at linebacker, and that kind of and at defensive. Along the defensive line, and that kind of impacted that a little bit. So you were really, fingers crossed that the defense was going to be a little bit better this year, and I think that it will be. I do think that it's going to take some time for this new system to kick in and be as good as I think that it's going to be. Hopefully it's going to continue to get better, but that was an area of concern. They did lose Colin McCarthy, one of their young linebackers, to an injury, and it's really sad because Colin McCarthy is a very talented young player, but he cannot stay healthy, and he's had injuries throughout the course of his career, and they're saying that he's going to miss some time, and if that's true, and I do think that there's some truth there, I forget who it sounded like, from what I was hearing from talking to someone, that it was a torn labrum, which is not good. But they haven't officially announced it, and that's someone else. That's definitely secondhand information, so don't take that as the gospel. But all we know right now is that he's probably going to miss some time, and if that is true, I think that there's a good possibility he could go on injured reserve and get released with an injury settlement. Because, they've got numbers at linebacker, and yeah, I mean, it's just the latest, and so we'll see. I hope that, maybe it's not as serious as what it sounds, and he can come back and be okay. But you know what they say, you can't make the club from the tub, and so we'll have to keep an eye on that situation. And then the other thing, Jake Locker didn't play very much. He did survive his first big hit, so win-win. Very good there. Charlie Whitehurst, given the conditions and everything, Charlie Whitehurst had a very nice game. And rookie quarterback Zach Mettenberger had he showed some rookie moments, which you're going to see. You can expect to see that. But overall, a nice game for him, too. And the run game looked very good. So there was a lot to like about that game. Now let's be clear here: Aaron Rodgers didn't play, and so they were facing the Packers weren't going to risk their starters, and so they were facing second, third, and fourth string guys, and the Titans played a lot of their backups too. So it's hard to draw really any deep conclusions from the first preseason game. But like Dayna said, you get a chance to see a lot, and they get a chance to really start knocking the rust off against opponents, not against the guys that they see every day in the locker room. And they start to get a little bit back to more game speed action. They can hit each other. Of course, nobody really wants to get injured, but you got to make plays, especially for a lot of the back end guys. They've got to make plays to make the roster. So, all in all, really a good game for the Titans and a nice little win for them.
I have to say something. Hold on, Sharona, I have to say something. I love Charlie Whitehurst. Someone called Charlie Football, and he said he preferred that over his other nickname. He's been clowning for how long now? You remember that name.
I know. And when he said that, I was guilty of that. I have not called him that since then. And I'm not going to call him that. It was, I think it's a cute little nickname. Look, he's an attractive guy. He's got the hair. He's totally got the Creed Jesus look going, right? Yeah, but he said, you're right. They were calling him, what were they calling him?
Charlie Football.
Charlie Football, yes.
Yeah.
And so when he said that, I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. And I was like, oh, wait, I've done that. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm not going to call him that anymore.
I've said to many people, I think he's the smartest people in football. The man is a millionaire for mostly carrying around a clipboard. Not that he's never
clipboard. I know.
He really helped the Seahawks a couple of times. I mean, that is the truth. But honest to God, brilliant. Best job in football next to a kicker is holding that clipboard. So good.
It's a good gig if you can get it.
Yeah,
I mean, right?
Right.
Totally, I would do it.
Absolutely.
I mean, heck yeah, man! I'm not knocking the hustle at all.
Me neither.
And
really not at all.
I was a little bit leery because he hasn't played in a lot of games, but he's been in the NFL for 9-10 seasons now.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, after watching him in training camp, now he's had his moments where I was like, ooh, ugly. But they all have. There is a quarterback on that roster that hasn't thrown a bad interception in training camp. So let's, I feel a lot better about the situation, having had an up-close and personal chance to see him play and to see what he's capable of doing. And he is capable of making plays. He's made some nice plays. I'll tell you what really stood out to me. Dayna will appreciate this. Was not a particularly good practice for the offense yesterday. Lack of focus by the receivers was a huge problem. There were dropped balls everywhere. Bishop Sankey, our rookie running back, fumbled twice, had to run a lap. just not a good day overall. I did think Jake Locker looked better than he had, but not really a good day for the offense. One thing that Charlie did, they were lining up, and third-year tight end Taylor Thompson was lined up wrong. And Whitehurst completely took charge and was directing him, and he really showed his leadership, I felt, in that moment. And Taylor jumped to do what he was saying and, got lined up correctly and everything. And to me, it was nice to see, because it wasn't a very good day for that, and it wasn't a good day overall for Taylor Thompson. And so you saw that leadership ability that he does have, and how the players respond to him. And so it was a nice little moment where you start to gather a little bit more confidence in a guy that you don't really know that much about, because he hasn't played a lot. And so, yeah. Yeah, but the clipboard Jesus thing is funny, but I'm not going to do it anymore.
You're a nice girl.
But I'm not gonna. I wouldn't want to do that to him. So, all right. Well, I've talked enough about the Titans. We're gonna move into the second part of the show, and one of the things we'll talk about some things that are kind of hot and going on. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about, I tweeted out the article, all the defensive holding penalties, and let me get the numbers. There have been 53. Defensive holding penalties. Let me get the games.
In the first 17 preseason games.
Yeah, 53 defensive penalties for defensive holding, 27 for illegal contact, and 15 for defensive pass interference. The 6 games just last Thursday produced 25 defensive holding penalties. So, I mean, it's just crazy. It's crazy numbers, and Dayna, I think, can speak to this a little bit, because there were some in her game. It's really going to prolong the games. There's no question whatsoever that it is going to prolong the games, and I just wonder if the NFL doesn't have a potential nightmare on its hands. And so, Dayna, I'm going to start with you, and then we'll let Sonja weigh in.
Right. Sorry, I lost my head. They call it the Legion of Boom rule, and they call it that because the Legion of Boom is very aggressive off the line. Okay, yeah, we already knew that. Hello, played that way for years, but okay, well, for 2 years anyway. The interesting thing about, well, not that long really, but the interesting thing about this is it just makes the already one-sided officiating of football, which is so offensively driven. It is so to give the offense the ability to make these huge numbers. It makes that even worse. And so even though teams like the NFC West teams, like, Denver this year, because they've changed up so much, these more defensive teams, even though they prove that they still can win without these huge offenses, it's like the NFL say, no, I'm sorry, let's stop. Let's make it even harder for them to win against these offenses. Here's the thing. I can understand that if there was not already some sort of those rules in place, there is the 5 yards. There's all kinds of, that give the wide receivers a much greater chance of getting that ball. Those are already in place. Why do we have to make it even harder? The interesting thing I heard during the commentary between the Seahawks and the Broncos game was, because they were talking about it, that it was the Legion of Boom rule and all this other stuff, was that they were making it a point of, emphasis. If I heard that term one more time in that preseason game, I was going to kill somebody, but they're making it
I hope you didn't drink every time you heard it, because, that drinking game can be dangerous.
I would have been under the table without question. But no, the interesting thing going to emphasis, but they really thought during regular season they'd back off from it for a little bit, that they're going to try and prove this point during the preseason so that it gets into their heads a little bit, so then maybe it will curtail some of that contact. But really, and I don't remember where it was I saw it, or if I heard it on NFL Network or somewhere, they went back through. This is not a huge problem. It happens on every single team. It's not like it's just Seattle or just San Francisco or some of those heavier defense teams. This happens on every single team equally, both sides. And so really, is it a problem? Well, the NFL's going to see if it's going to be a problem. But you're right. Between the 45-minute lightning delay and flags coming down on that Seattle Broncos game, I will tell you it was on both sides for both teams. It wasn't heavy-handed one way or the other. That game went on for like 12 hours. It took forever to finish. And honestly, that's not going to be good for advertisement. That's not going to be good for game time management on Sundays. It's going to make everything very difficult.
Yeah, you know, the Seahawks kind of had two separate little points of emphasis named after them. You're famous. I mean, Mama, you made it. The other one is the The other one is the trash talking thing, which I have not personally seen called yet. Have any of you guys, you ladies, seen that called yet in that 15-yard penalty called yet?
No, I haven't seen it.
The taunting or the trash talking? The taunting rule? Yeah, Sonja will see it probably a couple of times this season with Golden Tate, because that's when we saw it last year, was with our darling Golden Tate, you know. And
I remember that one play.
Love the one with the Rams, absolutely. But he got it a couple times. Sweet, adorable Sidney Rice, who never says boo to anybody, got a taunting because he put the ball down too close to some guy's head. I mean, they really, and he put it down forcefully, but he didn't throw it. So, you know, it was just, it's that, you know, and I don't know. There was a couple preseason games, I think there was taunting called a little bit. And so, I don't know. They're grown men. You know, until someone throws a punch, do we really have to police them that much? That's my opinion.
I'll read it to you guys. It's not, it's a little bit, it's a kind of a byproduct of the taunting rule. But it's a little bit, this is the rule that when they first started talking about it, it was designed to negate the use of the N-word and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
That's right, yeah.
This is what they said. The use of abusive, threatening, or insulting language directed at opponents, teammates, game officials, or representatives of the league is covered under unsportsmanship, unsportsmanlike conduct in the playing rules. This includes racial slurs, comments regarding sexual orientation, or other verbal abuse. Actions such as these will result in 15-yard penalties and potential discipline. And that's so broad, and I'm very interested to see how they enforce this rule this season. I have not seen it called yet.
No. Does it make you wonder, too, what are they going to do with players who are insanely smart? Richard Sherman is insanely smart. When he trash talks,
the Richard Sherman rule is what it is. It is completely the Richard Sherman rule.
But the thing of it is he never swears. He doesn't call people names. He doesn't do any of that. From any of the stuff that we've heard, he says, "You're wasting my time. This game is boring. You got to." The best one is when he looked at the guy. He says, "You need to go to the gym more. You need to pump a little more." You know, and none of that fits under that rule. And so, you know, the interesting thing about it is they made this very broad, and I do think that it included because of Michael Sam coming into the league a little bit. They wanted to make sure that was never an issue. But
and something about the Miami Dolphins was included in it.
Exactly. And so I think that it's going to be so up for interpretation. But at the same time, if you follow the letter of the law, most of those players, a lot of them, can skirt their way all the way around that. Yo mama jokes will come back into fashion again.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those rules are going to be crazy. And it's just, once again, how do you police? And I think the other thing is that defense wins championships, and, you know, offense fills the seats, but defense wins those championships. And we all want that defense. We want that hitting. We want all that. And so these rules, I don't know how it's going to be during the regular season and how the fans are going to react. I mean, because like you said earlier, Sharona, we might as well just put a skirt on the wide receivers. Because, I mean, they're there to get hit. And this is what we like in the game. This is football. It's supposed to be about hitting. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see. Very interesting to see.
I was talking to some guys at training camp today. I forget how it came up. Somebody was talking about it, and I threw out the number, you know, that there had been 53 defensive holding penalties just in the first part of the preseason alone, and they were like astounded at that. And you know, I think that. So I'm sorry, Sonja. Are we making you sleepy, honey?
pick up your game a little bit, Kat. No, you're allowed 3 yawns every hour. I read that somewhere a long time ago.
That's so cute. She did it so ladylike. It was like, oh, that's so cute. No, right? So, yeah, I'm kind of, I hope that they do cut down on it, but it's going to make the games incredibly long. The other rule that I wanted to talk about real quick, because it did bite the Titans, maybe a little bit, Saturday night, and that was the extra point thing. Them moving the extra point back, making it like a 33-yard. The Titans missed an extra point. Their first extra point of the night, they missed, because it was a little bit, well, not necessarily because it was a little bit, but it was set back pursuant to the new rule, the new test, and one of their tryout kickers missed the extra point. So, what do you guys think about that? I'm not in favor of messing around with the extra point. I mean, that's when everybody goes to grab a beer and potty.
Exactly. I mean, it's there. Just leave it. I don't think it's broke. Don't fix it.
It's not broken.
Don't fix it. I mean, it's just, and there are those times. It's not 100% that everybody gets it every single time. There's always those times when somebody deflects it or the wind catches it. So I say there's nothing wrong. Just leave it. The NFL, I think, is trying to start to fix a little bit too much that's not broken. But that's just.
I know. What do you think, Dayna?
Do we have any? Is there any literature or anything on what the point of moving it back is? If it's to make the game more competitive, then they're fighting a losing battle. With the NFL kickers, the way they kick today, 45 and 50-yard field goals are not uncommon any longer. So what is the difference in that extra point move back? What is it, 10 yards or 15 yards? I don't understand what they're trying to accomplish with it. And right. if it's truly, if it's more, just, I don't know, maybe it makes people go for 2 more often. I guess I really don't understand the point of it. It is almost an automatic given now in the NFL when someone makes a touchdown at 7 points. I mean, really, truly. But if you just, if you really want it to be more competitive, make it 7 points and, move it clear back and make it worth 2 or something, completely change the structure. But what does 10 or 15 yards have really to do with anything with the caliber of kickers that we have now? I don't understand the point.
Well, the Titans, I'm not sure, have that caliber. Hopefully they will by the time the season. It's very much an area of concern right now. So let me say that. Yeah, I mean, if they want to make it competitive, allow teams to rush like 2 or 3 guys and make the kicker run around and pooch it in.
Right.
That would be kind of fun to watch.
That'd be fun.
A pooch kick.
You have injured kickers, but it would be fun.
Injured, sminjured. It's football.
Exactly.
You can have blockers. I mean, you've got, let them rush 2 or 3 guys. You can have some blockers and, or if he can't pooch it in, he can run it in for 2 points.
You can see like the kickers union getting together.
Kickers are people too.
Kickers are
people too. People, they need to get out there and get their uniform dirty.
Oh my gosh, but then that reminds me of the Lions-Pittsburgh game last year where Sam Martin just ran in and got mauled. Oh my gosh, that was a horrible game. But he just got mauled. But hey, he earned his stripes that day. He did. He took it for kickers all over, I think, that day. But
well, Dayna and I saw one in the Titans Seahawks game in 2013. The Seahawks kicker definitely took one for the team.
You gotta love House guy. We call him House Money for a reason. The guy's so good. But yeah, he's kind of a little thing, so he really he took a broadside on that one for sure.
He was trying. I forget who he was. It Jackie Battle that he tried? I can't remember. He was trying to tackle somebody, and it was the boomstick. Yeah. All right. Well, Dayna, give us the update on Marshawn Lynch. What the heck, man?
This is the greatest thing ever because, okay, it's not. It is and it's not, okay? Well, supposedly the Bellevue Police Department, which is a suburb of Seattle, is investigating a possible assault charge against Marshawn Lynch that happened this last weekend. It was not sexual in any nature. It had nothing to do with domestic violence or anything like that. Supposedly there was just a scuffle. The interesting thing, and I thought, oh, they'll either figure it out or won't or whatever. Honestly, that's kind of the least of our worries with Marshawn. God love him, but trouble seems to find him sometimes. I adore the guy, though. But the thing that got me was today. The Seattle Seahawks, who usually release a press release about things like this, we're waiting till the police finish their investigation to form any judgment. Kind of the standard line.
Yeah.
Not today.
Right.
Today they said... after speaking with first they said we respect the police process and we understand what they're doing. However, after speaking with Marshawn today, we believe these charges are completely bogus, and they use the word bogus.
Bogus. Wow.
Okay. All right then.
For the Seahawks to come out with something that strong, because they are so PC, they are so just right the line.
Mm-hmm.
For them to come out and go, whatever, it makes me think that Marshawn wasn't even in the town, even in the city. Like, he was not even around, or he was somewhere else that could be verified 10 ways to Sunday or whatever. But whatever they came up with, it made them not worry about it. They literally brushed it to the side. Then the Bellevue PD later on that day released a statement and said, we don't care what the Seahawks press release says. We're going to go through this process.
Ooh, catfight, real.
Going on there. But really, truly, it doesn't look to be anything. No one was hurt even, so I'm not really sure what they're looking at. I think that on one extreme, maybe he got into a pushing match with something, because the guy, supposedly the victim wasn't even injured. So it's not like it was anything major anyway. And it's, or it was somebody trying to cash in on something, who knows. So we'll see. It doesn't seem to be a big deal. And to be honest with you, I think the media is really just kind of starved for anything at this point. So.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. All right. Well, we've talked a little bit about Golden Tate. Y'all, Dayna knows. I think Sonja knows too. Big Doug Baldwin fan here. Who is going to be the Seahawks' leading wide receiver this season? Jermaine Kearse or Doug Baldwin?
Percy Harvin. But
okay. Well, I don't look at him. I look at him as an offensive weapon.
He really, truly is. That is what's so amazing about Percy Harvin is, the little flashes we saw of him in the Super Bowl, that's what you're going to get with him. You're going to get, the sweeps. You're going to get, the returns. That's who he is. Mm-hmm. But for receivers, I really think that this is Doug Baldwin's year. If anyone who's paid attention to Doug Baldwin over the last couple of years know that the kid is clutch. He just didn't really have a time to shine behind Sidney Rice and Golden Tate. I mean, when you're third down the line, that's a little hard. When Sidney Rice got hurt last year, he was able to be brought in a little more often. Mm-hmm. But once again, we're a run-first team. We run like 55% of the time, and so it's really – it's still hard for those receivers to kind of shine. But if you watch –
He still helped me. I was playing him. He still helped me in fantasy. He was – you weren't going to get – but you knew you were going to get – decent points,
right?
From
consistent,
him. And so he was a reliable start.
Yeah, he's very, very consistent, and he has this miraculous ability to catch balls with his tippy toes inside the inbounds line. Like he is right on the edge of the field, and it is amazing the catches he can make, and how
he's very underrated.
Right, I completely agree, and how much. He can watch Russell Wilson when Russell Wilson is scrambling in the backfield. He watches him and does everything in his power to get field. Yeah, it is amazing.
They've got good communication.
They do. Jermaine Kearse obviously is going to become important to us this year. He was important during the Super Bowl last year, during the playoff run. Jermaine Kearse is another guy who can really catch that long ball. He's super smart, but he's really fast. Speed is. They call our wide receiver core now. Someone is trying to coin Legion of Zoom to go with the Legion of Boom, and I think it's terrible.
Oh my God.
What they're trying to do. But all of the receivers are really fast, and so we have him. The one to watch this year to see how they use him will be Phillip Bates. Phillip Bates has been on our team for a couple of years, 4 or 5 down the wide receiver line, on practice squad, but he's always been there, and we couldn't quite figure out why. This year in training camp, we found out why. The kid is blistering fast, can catch, that famous helmet catch from the Giants. He can do those kind of catches. He's amazing. But really, he's a really good slot guy, too, and I think that's what we're going to be missing with Golden Tate, and that Percy Harvin will do for the most part, but in some of those schemes, Phillip Bates could be really good. As most people know who watch football, the Seahawks receiving corps got called a few names and was a little disrespected by some of the commentators toward the end of the season last year. When you have the wide receivers that we do, the quarterback that we do, and the running backs that we do, you have to understand they're not going to have Calvin Johnson numbers. It's just not going to happen because they don't need to. But the plays they make are always huge and always really important. And so I think that they'll get a lot more respect this year. In turn, I think Golden Tate will get a lot more respect this year, too, because he'll be on a throw-first team. So he'll be able to shine a little bit more. I'm very excited for him for that because I really do like the way he plays.
Yeah, I can't wait to see that, too. That'll be fun.
All right. Sonja, I want to ask you real quick. We talked about Eric Ebron, but what about the other tight ends? Are they going to, because you still got Big Joe, and they brought back Pettigrew, and
sorry.
So, are they going to still see some action as well?
Yes, I think they are both going to actually get to see some action. I want to say on the lineup sheet is that Pettigrew was number 1. So I think he's our first tight end.
Okay.
Yeah, but I want to say he was more so, I think he found his niche better as a blocking tight end. And, he really helped open up the line for Reggie Bush last year. So I think that's what they're trying to do. You do. You have to have a good blocking tight end. And, I mean, even though our offensive line really picked it up last year, so I'm really excited to see them work this year, too. And hopefully we can get our new center, Travis Swanson, in a few times. That you guys know me and my center issues. Yeah, I'd love to see Travis Swanson in a few times. But, Brandon Pettigrew is mostly going to be, I hope, a blocking tight end. They're going to use Big Joe Fourier more so in the red zone.
So he can dance.
So he can dance it.
Yeah. So we want to see that dance. Shake your booty. Twerk. I want to see him twerk.
Yes,
he's got to twerk. Just
yes, we got to get a Twitter campaign going, Sharona.
We do. We've got to get him to twerk just for us, Sonja.
Just twerk it.
Twerk it, baby. Twerk it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
But I think that's where they're mostly going to use Joe is in the red zone, so he's going to be a red zone tight end, and then having Eric Ebron mostly just kind of be that Jimmy Graham type / wide receiver / tight end, give us a few more options in our passing game and our offense. So it's going to be really fun to watch this offense this year too.
Well, cool. Well, I'll tell you what, the Titans have a lot of fantasy football options. A guy to watch, and he's kind of our in the Titans offensive weapon, and that's Dexter McCluster, who has really been fun and exciting to watch in training camp. They're using him a lot of different ways. He's a sneaky, fast little dude. A little bigger though than what I expected. I mean, he's solid, and he's so fast. I kept saying he's so fast that I couldn't get a picture of him. I couldn't get a picture of him. I couldn't get a vine of him, and I finally did. I mean, it took me like a week to finally get him, and I was like, oh my God, my job is done. I can go home now. So keep an eye on him. Kendall Wright, Justin Hunter are looking good in training camp. Delaney Walker, our tight end, the big receiving tight end, looks fantastic. Nate Washington had a good day today, so could be some fantasy options on the Titans this year. So just a little bit of fantasy football talk. It's getting to be that time of year. Had to work a little bit of that in. All right, well, the hour always goes by so fast, so I'm going to kick it over to Sonja and let her get us started going out, and then I will take us out.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dayna, for coming through in the clutch, stepping in. Oh, we so appreciate that.
You
and
bet.
We love having you on the show. So it was so much fun. Thank you for hanging out with us.
You are fun. You're one of the best guests ever.
Exactly.
It makes it so easy to do a show, just to have you on here. And
just to have you on and just chitty chatting. It's so much fun. So again, everybody, I'm Sonja. I am the official fan reporter for the Lions for NFL Female. You can find me writing about the Lions on NFLfemale.com. You can also find me on A Good Sports Hang, writing some stuff there about all types of sports, but since NFL is coming back, I'm going to be starting to write more about the NFL there too. So yeah, that's where you can find me. Dayna, why don't you tell everybody where you can find you?
Well, you can also find me. I am the official fan reporter for the Seattle Seahawks for NFL Female. I also am a contributor for thefootballeducator.com, and I am the host of NFL Female's weekly podcast that we have on Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central. And tomorrow, our entire hour is fantasy football, the whole thing. With Liz Logan. We're very excited. So tune in if you want to get some awesome tips for that. But yeah, find me on Twitter. That's where most people find me.
That is so funny, Dayna. You know, you and I, we think alike, because Liz is coming on our radio show Thursday morning.
Yeah,
it's right. I didn't even know.
Right? Her brain. You have to pick her brain. It's amazing. The fantasy
I know. She's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited to talk to her. All right, well, I am Sharona. You can follow me on Twitter at Sports by Sharona. I am the official fan reporter for the Tennessee Titans, and you can also find me. I write for Pro Player Insiders, and you can find me writing and also hosting a show called The Extra Point, which airs every Friday night via Google Hangout and YouTube for the National Gridiron Network. And as I just mentioned, every Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock a.m. Central Standard Time, Yahoo 7:30 Yahoo Sports on Game Over with Vashti and Sharona. Thank you for joining us. A big shout out to Liz. We always have to shout out to Liz, our guru at NFL Female, for the opportunity and for everything that she has done for us. And we hope that you have enjoyed the show. We'll be back next week with another great show. And be sure to tune in tomorrow night to the podcast, because they are great. They do a fantastic job. And Liz is awesome.
Fantasy.
Yeah, Liz is awesome. So it'll be a fantastic show. So have a very pleasant evening, and we will see you next week.